So, as I've been working on my next Skylanders video, I would slowly but surely come to a realization while I was browsing through the Skylanders to find one to discuss, and that would be the fact that I recognize all of the SWAT Force members in damn near every giant. And I don't mean that I don't know who they are, I mean that I recognize them from my videos. This would lead me down a mini rabbit hole for a little bit, and after some researching and number crunching, I realized that I covered almost all of the SWAT Force members in most of the giants. Now, for the SWAT Force, I already knew this, and the wheel kind of blessed me a little bit due to the fact that the two Skylanders that weren't in that video could have their own video topics. But the giants genuinely surprised me. I thought I had 3, maybe 4 more giants to spare, and thankfully the 2 that are left can be given videos with other Skylanders as a topic. But the thing that I learned from all of this is that I haven't talked about a lot of the other groups so far except for the first 3. The Cores, the Giants, and the SWAT Force. So I decided to go to the other end of the spectrum, and the first group that I would notice were the Trap Masters. Funnily enough, the Trap Masters are the group behind the SWAT Force that I have talked the most about numbers-wise, leaving us 7 Skylanders to go over. And the ones that I haven't talked about yet actually have some insane lore that I'm surprised that I haven't seen or talked about yet, since a lot of these Skylanders have been requested before. Because of all that, it's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about more of the Trap Masters due to how fascinating a lot of these backstories and histories are. So with that out the way, let's get started!
Hammer it home!
Now, when it comes to all the Skylanders that are part of the Trap team, I'm pretty sure that Wallop is one of the most revered members by the wider Skylands community. And what's even crazier is that he's actually a Skylander from the Earth element. Now, what I mean by this is that I began to notice that some of the elements in Skylanders are less cared about than others, and when it comes to the side that the Earth element lands on, it's on the more neglected side. So it's a little surprising to see one of its gimmick members be as revered as he has been, and from what I can tell by looking at some of his gameplay clips, this character earned it. I knew that Wallop was cracked to some degree, but I didn't realize how much until I actually started digging and looking into him. Not only does he have a primary attack that does a crap ton of damage, but he also has a secondary and third that is also scuffed beyond belief as well. All in all, he lives up to the hype. But with all of that said and done, let's take a look at his backstory and see if it lives up to his reputation. Even though I can't exactly figure out where Wallop came from or lived before he became a Skylander, we do know that he and his people had used the volcanic lava pits of Mount Scorch to forge some of the most awesome weapons in Skylands for generations. And out of every apprentice that the Masters had taught, Wallop was the best that they had ever seen. Using hammers in both of his mighty hands, Wallop could tirelessly pound and shape the hottest of metals into the sharpest of swords and hardest of axes. But one day, which coincidentally was the same day that he was meant to show off his skills in forging, an event would occur that would go on to shape his own future. On the day of his demonstration, a fire viper would awake from a deep sleep within the belly of the volcano, erupting from it before immediately attacking his village. But before it could destroy it, Wallop would bravely charge forward with 2 hammers and battle the beast, going on to defeat it and save his village. Even though the events around his recruitment are vague, and by vague I mean it doesn't exist, he would become a member of the Trap team, being one of the main members to capture the Doom Raiders and going on to make an appearance in Skylanders Issue 0, and in Return of the Dragon King, where he would be absolutely stomped by Malefor in his first encounter with him. But that's a story for another day. Now, there's a lot of theories and questions I have for Wallop, so let's get this done quickly since I have 2 other Skylanders I want to talk about. Now, there's a big question I've had since the Halloween video, and the question is, how are the Traptanium weapons created and how do they work? Now, I originally thought that it was just some sort of method carving Traptanium out with other pieces of Traptanium, and that would make a lot of sense for most of the other Trap Masters, except for the ranged Trap Masters. They're the ones that really throw a wrench into all of this stuff because in most cases they're shooting or throwing Traptanium around only for more to magically appear back in their hands. Another thing that I would like to talk about is the Fire Viper, because the biggest question that I have is why is there just one hanging out at the bottom of a volcano? I even decided to scour through the Fire Viper's wiki to see if that's a behavior that they have, but it's only mentioned in the trivia section where it makes its appearance in Wallop's story, and nowhere else. And the more I think about it, I wonder if it has something to do with the Petrified Darkness on its head. Petrified Darkness mains for the Fire Vipers seem to be a constant occurrence in the mainline and Academy continuity of Skylanders, and when you compare them to other petrified creatures, the Fire Vipers look really different theme-wise. So maybe the Fire Viper was using the lava of the volcano to somewhat hold off the darkness or even break the crystals a little bit. But that's all pretty much speculation since we don't know if the Fire Vipers could exist without Petrified Darkness, as they seem to have a Petrified Darkness core thing as seen in SWAT Force. So for now, let's just get moving to the next next Skylander of today.
Bringing the heat.
Now, when it comes to the Trap Masters that I was somewhat aware of before I bought Trap Team, Wildstorm ended up being one of them, and I'm not sure if it was because he was in the starter pack, he was a Dark Skylander, or if it was his design. And speaking of that, I'm pretty sure Wildfire is the only Skylander on the Trap Team that used a defensive weapon. I know it sounds weird when you hear it for the first time because I swore that there was another Trap Master with a defensive weapon, but no, after scouring through their wiki for a long freaking time, there was no other Trap Masters with something like his shield. But with all of that said, let's get digging through his backstory to see why that's the case. Wildfire is from a clan of lions known as the Fireclaw clan, and for some inexplicable reason, he was just made of gold. And because of this, he was treated as an outcast by the rest of the lions and barred from participating in the Rite of Infernos, a test of survival for young lions where they would be sent into the treacherous fire plains. Even though he was barred from participating, he would attempt to do it anyway, secretly following the path of the other lions who were, and bringing only his father's shield with him. And after some time of following their trail, he would find the entire group cornered by a giant flame scorpion. Using his shield, he would quickly jump into the fray and use his shield to protect the group from the creature's tail as they fled, which gave them enough time to flee, and even though he was injured by the attack, the shield would magically change him, amplifying his strength that he already had in his heart and making him the mightiest lion in his clan. And eventually, he would go on to join the Skylanders as a Trap Master, using his Traptanium bonded shield to protect the innocents of Skylands. Now, once again, this is one of those weird instances where the weapon that the Trap Masters had beforehand is better than the one that they have right now. But the big question that I really have right now is what's going on with his backstory. I know it sounds strange for me to call it all over the place, but it's not all over the place because it's bad per se, it's all over the place because it just left a lot of its plot points hanging. What happened after he was attacked? How did he get back to his tribe? Did his tribe's thoughts about him change after the Rite of Infernos? And most importantly, how did he become a Skylander? That's probably one of the biggest gripes I really have with his backstory personally, because he seems to have become something pretty important within his tribe, but now he's just leaving and it wasn't brought up at all how they reacted or if they even objected to him leaving at all. Another question I have for him is, why is he gold? This is another thing that I wish was something explained, because the only other things in Skylands that I could think of cause this maybe is the Golden Queen, since she can turn things into gold. But every time that's shown, the person or object is turned completely solid and can't move. I even tried digging into the Golden Queen's backstory to see if there were any answers on why she's completely gold. And from what I can tell, she's just a living golden statue, and I can't really find any information on why that's the case. The only other species that I could really compare him to were the Godlings, and I know for a fact that he isn't one of them because A, his entire tribe is full of lions, and B, even if there was a Godling there, I doubt hybrids in Skylands could work to that degree. So with that out the way, let's take a look at the final Skylander of today.
Star bright, star fight.
Now, when it comes to Lobstar, he has to be one of the weirdest Skylanders to exist, not because of his lore, but because of how he exists within the franchise itself. Because to be perfectly honest with you guys, I haven't even heard about him. Even though I should've. He was one of the 6 members who took the Doom Raiders down in the opening cinematic for Skylanders Trap Team, and he was even one of the Skylanders who was sent to Earth in that same cinematic, and he even has one of the most standout designs to me. So once again, why do I not know about him? Even though I don't know why he isn't as popular as most of the other members, or at least from what I'm seeing, he's also one of the few Skylanders who have a Christmas-themed reskin, and one of the fewer Skylanders who have a Christmas-themed reskin that isn't from Lost Islands or another game that isn't from the mainline games. So with all of that said and done, I think it's about time that we take a look at his backstory and see if he's a hidden diamond within the Traptanium. Lobstar comes from the undersea kingdom of Star City, and there he was the head chef of his own 5-star restaurant, and on some occasions he would even cook food for the kingfish himself, but only a few people knew about his life behind the scenes. Lobstar would secretly train in a mysterious art of fighting that was only known to a few crustaceans, and he would use his skills to keep the peace in the city as a vigilante. But when a giant leviathan threatened to swallow the entire city, he was forced to take action, probably revealing his identity to the wider masses, and using almost every trick he had in his mysterious arsenal, he eventually defeated the Leviathan and drove it out of the city. After risking literally everything he had to drive the Leviathan out of the city, Eon would eventually invite him to become a member of the Skylanders, and would eventually go on to defend Skylands with his new and powerful Traptanium throwing stars as a Trap Master, eventually making an appearance in the Light and the Dark storyline. Now, before I get going, I want to make it clear that it's not confirmed if he revealed his identity to protect Star City or not. I'm only getting that from the context clues within the story itself, and the fact that Eon went to him and not the superhero persona that he was using to keep the peace within the city. Secondly, I wish we could see other factions within Skylands fighting their own villains separate from the Skylanders. It would be really cool to show that the Skylanders aren't the only big force protecting Skylands from those who are willing to harm it. Heck, maybe they could have different moral codes, and that's a thing that the Skylanders could have conflict with them since they have their no killing rule and all that. But with that out the way, thank you for watching. Like always, hit the subscribe button if you enjoy content like this, share this around so I can grow as a channel, leave some comments down below to make the algorithm happy, check out the playlist for Skylanders lore in the description, along with the music used in this video, and I will see you all in the next one.